Welcome to this little video, which I thought I would speak about catastrophizing. And this is such a beautiful thing that many of us do a lot of. And when we do this, we can get so caught up in the visions and in the beliefs, the memories, the futuristic kind of concepts that this part of ourselves creates, that we become really convinced of its truth. Now, when most of us have this catastrophizing part, and it's beautiful to see it as a part of us that's developed to keep us safe. And a very powerful psychological or psychospiritual shift we can make is to take a step back from this dynamic, and rather than kind of getting caught up in it and being convinced of its truth, it's really okay that we do that, but we take a step back to kind of examine it with a lot of love, with a lot of kindness, with a lot of welcoming and curiosity, which is a really important part of our development and our healing. So time and time again, I find with myself in my personal inquiry and when I'm working with my clients, that when we examine this more closely in this gentle, loving way, we come to find that the parts of us that are doing this catastrophizing, throwing up these visions, giving us evidence of how bad things might be in the future, or all the trouble we might get in if we step here or say that, they have a well-meaning purpose. I love the idea from a psychospiritual perspective that pretty much all of the parts of us, even the ones that are seemingly quite painful or have painful beliefs or do these things like catastrophizing, that all parts of us really stem out of love and out of our essential self. It's just that sort of they've split off. And these parts of ourself are deeply trying to protect other parts of ourself, maybe younger parts, exiled parts, from feeling scared. So when we look at the catastrophizing, it's a really interesting thing, because catastrophizing makes us feel scared. Usually when we're having catastrophic visions of something really bad happening in the future, if we do this or this, we are scaring ourselves. It makes us really scared. It makes us scared to do that. But it's also really great to see how that part is actually trying to prevent us from getting into trouble. It might be preventing us from feeling rejected and hurt. Often these parts that scare us are trying to prevent us from feeling even more scared. So even though it sounds like a little bit of a conundrum, when we start to examine from a step back, with a little bit more curiosity, we start to notice, right, that the catastrophizing has a purpose. We start to notice when we've taken a step back and we're kind of looking at it, rather than being like really blended with it. When we're taking this step back, we can start to ask the questions about what it's about, and we can start to see that possibly it might not all be true. Even though at some level we can often find it very hard to make this little shift, make this disidentification, because a young, timid, frozen little part is so used to having the catastrophizing part keep it safe. Okay, so this is why we need to keep on bringing so much tenderness and so much love into our ongoing inquiry and into our deep care for ourselves, looking at all parts of ourselves and welcoming all parts of ourselves very kindly. Now, there is a beautiful psychospiritual tool that I find very helpful, as I have a tendency to have that catastrophizing part take over at times. And I've found that the IRIS protocol offers a gorgeous tool which is called, well, I name it, pondering the opposite. So how do we do this? One of the ways is, number one, well, firstly, before we can ponder the opposite, we have to really notice our catastrophizing, our visions, our beliefs. And so that may be, for example, with my son, when I'm having difficult times with him, I have a part that imagines how bad things really might get in the future with his behaviour, even though he's only 6. So now there's a part that shows me all of these things that could happen in the future that will be even more painful than now. And that part of me that's creating these visions about him in the future is trying to get me to act in a particular way, or get me to do more as a parent to try and stop that behaviour now rather than it getting worse. And one of the things that I practice is, number one, noticing this is going on. That usually is the first number one fabulous step. So when we notice it and we can go, here I go, I'm doing this catastrophizing. We take a step back and we can ask, right, how does that feel in the body as I do that? Really get clear about exactly what it is. You might close your eyes, really feel into it, notice those visions, really see it more clearly. And then I drop in the question, maybe that isn't entirely true. What if that isn't true? What else could happen in the future that would be good? That might not be so scary, that might not be so bad. So it's just a little practice, right? Where we just give ourselves the opportunity to ponder the opposite. And it might not be, for me, like I might not be able to imagine my son being the super most well-behaved teenager or anything like that, but I might be able to imagine that he's going to be okay. That he's not going to be as bad, as the way that I'm imagining he could be. So we want to find, when we're pondering the opposite, we want to kind of find a place where we can feel a landing in the body of the possibility of goodness, the possibility of okayness, the possibility of things working out maybe a little better than how our catastrophizing is making it out to be. So this is an ongoing practice of noticing. Firstly, we welcome, then we notice, and then we ponder the opposite, just as a little gentle, loving practice. We can go between them. We can kind of look at that, we can kind of look in and look at the catastrophizing kind of option, and then we can maybe ponder another option that might be sort of have an essence, have a bit of a flavour that's more rose-filled. It doesn't have to be full of roses, but maybe just a little bit of an essence of rose. A little bit of an essence of goodness. When we do this, we start to really feed our heart. It helps to open us up to the goodness inherent in this moment. And helps to open up our mind to other possibilities. And it helps to create shifts, even in the way and even in the actions that we might then choose to take. I'm sending lots of love. Thank you for listening if you've got all this way through. Bye-bye.